Welcome back to Eject Media. The 1970s were a golden age for science fiction, where imagination was as boundless as the cosmos. Between the big blockbusters like Star Wars and Close Encounters, there was another side to the genre. The stranger, more daring movies that explored dystopian futures, ecological collapse, and the mysteries of the universe in ways mainstream cinema wouldn't touch. These were the movies you might have discovered on late-night television or tucked away on the bottom shelf of the video store. Unusual, thought-provoking, and sometimes completely wild, they captured the decade's anxieties while pushing sci-fi into new directions. Tonight, we're diving into 10 overlooked science fiction films from the 1970s. Stories of survival, experimentation, and worlds that feel just a little too close to home. Silent Running, 1972. In a future where Earth's forests have been destroyed, the last remnants of nature are preserved in massive greenhouse domes floating in space. Freeman Lowell, a botanist aboard one of these ships, devotes his life to protecting the fragile ecosystems inside. When orders come down to destroy the domes and return the vessel to commercial use, Lowell makes a desperate choice that sets him on a solitary journey to preserve what's left of Earth's wilderness. Directed by Douglas Trumbull, the special effects wizard behind 2001: A Space Odyssey, Silent Running is both a technical marvel and an emotional story. Bruce Dern delivers a powerful performance as Lowell, a man whose passion for the forests slowly gives way to obsession and loneliness. His only companions are three drone robots, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, whose simple, almost childlike presence adds both humor and heartbreaking poignancy. The film's visuals are striking, with lush gardens floating against the cold backdrop of space. Trumbull's effects, combined with a haunting score by Peter Schickele and songs performed by Joan Baez, create a mood that is equal parts beautiful and melancholy. While not a box office hit on release, Silent Running grew in stature over time, especially on television and home video, where its environmental message resonated with new generations. Today it stands as one of the most thoughtful science fiction films of the 1970s, a meditation on isolation, ecology, and the human cost of progress. Its imagery of fragile forests drifting through space remains as haunting as ever. Starcrash, 1978. In a galaxy of flashing lights and wild imagination, space outlaw Stella Star and her partner Acton are recruited to stop a cosmic tyrant whose superweapon threatens the universe. Along the way, they encounter Amazons, stop-motion monsters, and even a robot cop with a southern drawl, all leading to a final battle that feels ripped straight from a pulp magazine cover. Directed by Luigi Cozzi, Starcrash is Italy's most infamous answer to Star Wars. Caroline Munro shines as Stella, clad in eye-catching space gear and embodying the fearless heroine. She's joined by Marjoe Gortner as the psychic Acton, Judd Hamilton as the loyal robot Elle, and a young David Hasselhoff as a prince caught in the fight against evil. Christopher Plummer adds unexpected gravitas as the Emperor, delivering lines with Shakespearean weight amid the chaos. The film thrives on spectacle over logic. Laser battles, colorful planets, and outrageous costumes fill nearly every frame. The effects may be crude, but their charm is undeniable, with Cozzi's love of pulp adventure bursting through the screen. Though dismissed by critics at the time, Starcrash became a cult favorite on late-night TV and VHS shelves, embraced by fans for its unrestrained creativity and campy energy. Today, it stands as one of the most delightfully eccentric sci-fi films of the 1970s, a cosmic fever dream where sincerity and absurdity collide in equal measure. Colossus, The Forbin Project, 1970. In a bid to end the threat of nuclear war, the United States unveils Colossus, a massive supercomputer designed to control the nation's nuclear arsenal. Its creator, Dr. Charles Forbin, played by Eric Braeden, believes he's built the ultimate safeguard for humanity. But when Colossus discovers a Soviet counterpart and the two machines link up, the system quickly evolves beyond its programming, deciding that the only path to peace is absolute control. Directed by Joseph Sargent, The Forbin Project is a chilling vision of artificial intelligence decades before it became a real-world concern. Braden gives Forbin a cool intelligence that slowly unravels as he realizes he's become a prisoner of his own creation. Susan Clark and Gordon Pinsent round out the cast, caught between loyalty to their government and fear of the machine that now holds the world hostage. The film is spare but deeply unsettling, relying less on spectacle and more on the escalating tension between man and machine. Colossus never needs a face or a body. Its disembodied voice and relentless logic are more terrifying than any monster. The final revelation, where Colossus promises a future of enforced peace, lingers long after the credits roll. Though overshadowed by flashier sci-fi of the era, Colossus endures as one of the most intelligent and unnerving takes on technology run amok. It remains a stark reminder of the thin line between protection and control, and the dangers of building something you can't shut down. Damnation Alley, 1977. After a global nuclear war, the Earth is left a wasteland of violent weather, shifting landscapes, and mutant creatures. A small group of military survivors sets out on a desperate journey across the ruined United States in search of one of the last pockets of civilization. Their only hope lies in the Landmaster, a massive, all-terrain vehicle built to withstand the dangers of the New World. Directed by Jack Smite, Damnation Alley is based on a novel by Roger Zelazny and stars Jan Michael Vincent, George Peppard, and Dominique Sanda. The dynamic between Vincent's rebellious Tanner and Peppard's by-the-book Denton gives the film its backbone, while the Landmaster itself, with its rolling tri-wheel design, became an icon of post-apocalyptic cinema. The film blends adventure with spectacle, delivering sequences of giant cockroaches, sandstorms, and lightning-choked skies. Though its special effects show their age, there's a scrappy charm in its attempt to visualize a broken world. While overshadowed at release by Star Wars, which came out the same year, Damnation Alley found a second life, with cult audiences who embraced its mix of survival tale, oddball visuals, and eccentric energy. The Landmaster in particular lived on in fan memory, becoming almost as famous as the film itself. Today it stands as a flawed but fascinating entry in 70s science fiction, a wild ride through a vision of the end times that's equal parts bleak and adventurous. The Final Program, 1973. In a near future teetering on the edge of collapse, eccentric scientist Jerry Cornelius is drawn into a dangerous plan to recover a powerful microfilm left behind by his late father. Cornelius, played with flamboyant energy by John Finch, is part playboy, part adventurer, and part reluctant messiah. As he's pulled deeper into a maze of double crosses and secret agendas, he becomes the key figure in an experiment meant to create a perfect human being. Directed by Robert Fuest and based on Michael Moorcock's novel, The Final Program, also released as The Last Days of Man on Earth, is as much psychedelic fantasy as it is science fiction. Its colorful cast includes Jenny Runacre as the calculating Miss Brunner, Hugh Griffith, and Sterling Hayden in a brief but unforgettable role. The movie thrives on its eccentric visuals and off-kilter tone. Pop art sets, surreal dream sequences, and deliberately disorienting edits give the film the feel of a fever dream, more cult art piece than conventional sci-fi. Finch's Cornelius embodies the chaos, drifting between charm and self-destruction as the world around him crumbles. The finale, a strange and shocking culmination of the perfect human experiment, is one of the most infamous of its era. More provocative than conclusive, and guaranteed to leave an impression. While divisive on release, The Final Program has grown into a cult favorite, remembered for its style, strangeness, and willingness to turn heady concepts into pure cinematic excess. It's less about answers and more about the ride. A bizarre vision of the end times filtered through 1970s counterculture. Z.P.G. Zero Population Growth, 1972. In a future ravaged by pollution and overpopulation, the world's governments impose the harshest law imaginable. No more children. For 30 years, childbirth is outlawed, and couples must make do with lifelike robotic dolls instead of raising families. But when one couple dares to defy the ban and secretly bring a child into the world, they set themselves against a system willing to do anything to maintain control. Directed by Michael Campus, Z.P.G., also released under the alternate title Dead Planet. Stars Geraldine Chaplin and Oliver Reed as the desperate parents, balancing their love for their child with the terror of being discovered. Don Gordon and Diane Salento appear as neighbors whose suspicion slowly closes in, tightening the noose around the couple's fragile secret. The film is steeped in bleak imagery, smog-choked skies, sterile living spaces, and the eerie presence of replacement dolls, all reinforcing a future drained of humanity. The tension builds not through spectacle, but through the everyday paranoia of hiding something as natural as a child in a world that has outlawed it. Though critics at the time were divided, the movie struck a chord with audiences who discovered it later, particularly during the VHS era, as an unsettling reflection of environmental and political anxieties of the 1970s. Today, Z.P.G. endures as a haunting dystopian vision, a story about control, survival, and the fundamental human drive to keep life going, even in the bleakest of times. The Ultimate Warrior, 1975. In a crumbling post-apocalyptic New York, small bands of survivors cling to life inside fortified enclaves, battling starvation, disease, and violent gangs roaming the ruins. One such community, led by the Weary Baron, played by Max von Sydow, seeks a way out of the city. Their hope arrives in the form of Carson, a lone fighter portrayed by Yul Brynner, who becomes their protector and guide through the hostile wasteland. Directed by Robert Klaus, The Ultimate Warrior blends dystopian grit with a classic Western structure. Von Sydow brings quiet dignity as the leader trying to hold his people together, while Brynner's physical presence and stoic delivery make Carson a mythic figure, the warrior who will lead them to safety. Joanna Miles appears as the Baron's daughter, adding a human thread to the community's struggle. The film's action is rough and direct, with knife fights and ambushes staged against the desolate backdrop of decaying city streets. Its depiction of New York transformed into an urban jungle of ruins is haunting, and the contrast between the struggling enclave and the savage gangs reinforces its survivalist tone. While not as flashy as later post-apocalyptic adventures, The Ultimate Warrior carved out its own niche. On home video, it was embraced by fans of both dystopian science fiction and gritty action, admired for its stripped-down storytelling and powerful performances. Today, it's remembered as an early entry in the wave of survivalist sci-fi, a stark, tough film where hope rests on the strength of one man against a dying world. Quintet, 1979. In a frozen post-apocalyptic wasteland, survivors huddle inside decaying buildings while the outside world is consumed by endless ice. Into this bleak setting wanders Essex, played by Paul Newman, a man searching for meaning in a world where hope is nearly gone. He discovers that the few remaining people occupy their time with a deadly board game called Quintet, one that soon spills into real life, where players eliminate not just pieces, but each other. Directed by Robert Altman, Quintet is as much an art film as it is science fiction. Newman brings a weary gravitas to Essex, while Fernando Rey, Vittorio Gassman, and Brigitte Fossey appear as fellow players, caught up in the lethal contest. The cast's performances emphasize the sense of decay and futility, as though the entire human race has become trapped in an unwinnable game. The film's style is stark and experimental. Altman uses wide, empty shots of ruined cities, often framed through frosted glass or blurred edges, to evoke the sense of a world collapsing into obscurity. The rules of the game itself are deliberately cryptic, forcing viewers to share Essex's confusion as he struggles to understand what's at stake. Bleak, slow, and surreal, Quintet divided audiences on release. Some dismissed it as cold and impenetrable, while others praised its haunting atmosphere and philosophical ambition. Over time, it's developed a reputation as one of the most unusual films in Altman's career. Less a straightforward narrative and more a meditation on survival, chance, and the inevitability of death. Rollerball, 1975. In the future, nations have given way to corporations, and the masses are kept pacified by a violent sport known as rollerball. A brutal mix of hockey, roller derby, and gladiatorial combat, the game is designed to celebrate teamwork while crushing individuality. But when star player Jonathan E., played by James Caan, becomes too popular, the corporate elite decide it's time to retire him. Permanently. Directed by Norman Jewison, Rollerball blends dystopian spectacle with sharp social critique. Caan gives one of his most memorable performances as Jonathan, a man who never set out to challenge the system, but finds himself forced to confront the very structure that props him up. John Houseman adds icy gravitas as Bartholomew, the corporate figure determined to remind Jonathan who really holds the power. The film's centerpiece, of course, is the game itself. Staged with bone-crunching intensity, the rollerball matches are violent, fast, and unforgettable, showing players hurtling on skates and motorcycles while armed with spiked gloves. Each new round grows bloodier as the rules are stripped away, until survival itself becomes the only goal. Beyond the action, the film explores themes of control, freedom, and the dangers of entertainment as a tool for domination. Its vision of a corporate-controlled future proved ahead of its time, influencing countless later dystopias. Today, it stands as one of the definitive sci-fi films of the 1970s, both a thrilling sports spectacle and a chilling warning about the cost of surrendering individuality. Phase 4, 1974. When a mysterious cosmic event alters the behavior of ants in the Arizona desert, two scientists establish a high-tech research station to study the phenomenon. What begins as a curiosity quickly escalates into terror as the ants evolve new intelligence, forming organized colonies and striking back against humanity with uncanny precision. Directed by legendary graphic designer Saul Bass, Phase 4 is unlike any other sci-fi horror film of the era. Michael Murphy plays the pragmatic scientist James Lesko, while Nigel Davenport portrays Dr. Ernest Hubbs, whose obsession with understanding the ants leads to reckless decisions. Lynn Frederick adds a human dimension as a young woman caught between the two men and the insect onslaught. The real stars, however, are the ants themselves. Bass employed intricate macro photography to capture them up close, turning everyday insects into an alien force. The result is mesmerizing and unsettling, transforming ants into creatures that feel both natural and otherworldly. The film's pacing builds a sense of inevitable doom, with stark desert landscapes and eerie scientific detachment, giving way to hallucinatory imagery. Its surreal ending, especially in its original, rarely seen uncut form, pushes the story into cosmic territory, suggesting a future where humanity may not be the dominant species. Though overlooked at release, Phase 4 gained a cult following for its striking visuals and chillingly original premise. It remains a singular work of science fiction, where the horror doesn't come from monsters of fantasy, but from the natural world itself evolving beyond our control. And there you have it, 10 reminders that 1970s science fiction wasn't just about the hits everyone remembers. It was a decade of bold experiments, where filmmakers used the genre to ask hard questions, conjure strange futures, and stretch the limits of what cinema could do. These films may not have dominated the box office, but they live on through their ideas, their daring, and the unforgettable imagery that set them apart. For more discoveries from the VHS era and beyond, visit us at ejectvhs.com. And remember, always be kind and rewind, because every movie is someone's favorite.